Now, please welcome First Lady of the City of New York, Chirlane McCray.
Good evening, everyone. Shalom. Welcome to Gracie Mansion. This is the People's House. This is your house, and you are always welcome here. Now, Bill and I are so delighted to celebrate New York City's Jewish community. You all do so much for our city as individuals, as academics, as business leaders and civic leaders. We're celebrating you this evening, and we need you more than ever. Because when children are torn away from their mothers and sent thousands of miles to far-off cities like ours, that's a time that calls for Jewish values, don't you think? The City of New York is doing everything in its power to support the health and well-being of these innocent children, and we will do all we can to make sure every family is reunited. And all of you can help. The Mayor's Fund to Advance New York City is collecting donations to support children and families who are here and at the border with support services, legal services, clothing, and affinity objects like teddy bears to help them with the trauma, to help them cope. Anyone can donate at nyc.gov/fund. Now I got to tell you something about New Yorkers. We announced this collection for the first time on Thursday, and the very next morning, New Yorkers had already donated more than $5,000. Can you believe that? That's the kind of reaction that gives me hope. I see what we can achieve when we come together as one united city. All right, I want to tell you a little story. Last month, thousands of faith communities across our city and the nation joined our third annual Weekend for Mental Health. People from all different religious traditions pledged to be mental health helpers and healers. I visited several houses of worship throughout the weekend, including B'nai Jeshurun, a synagogue on the Upper West Side. And I reminded everyone in the congregation that in New York City, there's always hope and there's always help. I also asked them to do their part by taking our free mental health first aid course. How many of you know about this course? Please raise your hand. How many? Mental health first aid. Okay, a few, not enough. In this course, people learn the signs and the symptoms of mental illness and substance use disorders and the skills to respond appropriately and connect people to care. Now, why is this important? Because we don't learn this growing up. We all know what to do when somebody fractures a leg or fractures a bone in their leg or if they're bleeding, but we don't know anything about mental health. We don't know what to do if someone has a panic attack. We don't know what to do if someone's suffering from depression. So this course that we offer for free tells you what to do, tells you what to look for. I took it myself and I found it to be transformative. You see, I believe that if more people understood trauma, child brain development, and emotional wellness, we could ease so much suffering in the world and address our problems with more empathy. So I ask all of you, will you all be helpers and healers? Will you? Will you take mental health first aid? Okay, I don't hear as much enthusiasm as I'd like, but okay. All right, remember, you can take mental health first aid by signing up at nyc.gov/MHFA. When I finished speaking at B'nai Jeshurun, a group of young girls came up to me, none older than 13, 4 of them, and I was so impressed with them. They looked up at me and asked one question. They said, we're only, 11 or 12 or 13, but what can we do to help? That's all they wanted to know. What can we do to help? I was so impressed with them. That is the Jewish spirit that is so alive today in New York City, and it gives me hope. Every single day, New York's Jewish community models what it means to take care of one another, to live the value of tikkun olam, and help heal the world. Tonight, we celebrate that spirit and say, Toda Rabbah, thank you for all you do. Now, it is my great pleasure, but I got a caveat to that. My poor husband, I have to tell you, he has lost his voice. I don't know what he's going to do up here. He woke up this morning and he was a baritone. And then in the course of the day, the voice grew less and less and less until when I saw him just a few minutes ago, it was just a whisper. And I know that he's been using his voice all day long, which has not helped. So please be patient with him. He works very hard, and I know he wants very much to talk with you this evening and be with you in the fullest sense. So let me introduce my partner and almost voiceless friend in all things New York City's Jewish community, a proud friend of New York City's Jewish community, my husband, Mayor Bill de Blasio.
All right. Listen carefully. Welcome, everybody. We're so happy to have you here. Shalom. And Charlene mentioned the Jewish principle of tikkun olam, and she lives it every day, doesn't she? Let's thank our First Lady. There are so many wonderful people here. Thank you, everyone. This community, and I brag about it wherever I go in the world, the largest Jewish community in any city, in any nation in the world, right here. This community does so much to make New York City great. The people here contribute so much to this city, and I want to say a heartfelt thank you. I also want to thank, we have some very special guests. You came to the reception tonight, Gracie Mansion, expecting one mayor. You got two mayors for the price of one. Thank you, Mayor David Dinkins, for joining us tonight. And the elected officials behind me, District Attorney of the Bronx, Darcel Clark, and Assembly Member Steve Simbrowitz, the Council Members Chaim Deutsch, Kalman Yeager, Ben Kalos, Mark Levine. I think this is a Yiddish name, Matthew Eugene. Thank you to all the members of my administration who are here as well, and two very special guests who we include in so many of our city events because they speak to the whole community so beautifully. From the JCRC, Rabbi Michael Miller. And from the New York Board of Rabbis, the funniest man in New York City too, Rabbi Joseph Potasnik. So I'll be brief, but Jewish New Yorkers came from everywhere. They came from everywhere. This is so important to remember, this history. They came from Europe, they came from South America, they came from Asia, they came from Israel, they came from all over the world. And every single person who came here helped make us better. It is impossible to imagine New York City without our Jewish community. And this is what we have to remind people at this moment in our history. If you love New York City, if you love America, then you need to love all the people in it. And this community brought creativity. This community brought a search for justice. This community brought dynamism and social conscience. So many things that are heart and soul of who we are as New Yorkers. And if you took the Jewish community out of our history, we would be so much less as a city. But let's remember how many of those people were not welcome when they arrived. Let's remember the history. And that was true for centuries. The folks who did so much to make us great were so often shunned. And I know my history, and I bet a lot of you do too. One of the really telling moments that we have to remember, the voyage of the ship St. Louis. Came to this country in 1939 with families who were fleeing persecution in Europe and was turned away. And hundreds of good souls lost their lives. You know the part, that idea, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it? We can't let that happen. And in New York City, I'm so proud of us because I think we have learned something from our history. I think we've grown. I think we've become a place that respects everybody. I know we defend everybody. And this is something I'm so proud of. And I hope all over this country and all over this world, people take note of what we do here and learn from it. When the Jewish community is under attack here or anywhere, this city mobilizes, the NYPD mobilizes. An attack on the community anywhere is an attack on us all. That's how we see it. And that's the spirit we need to foster all over our nation as well. This is a very special year. This gathering happens at a time when, despite the challenges we face, there's something we can celebrate. There's something we can feel very good about. And that's a birthday party, an ongoing birthday party this year for a nation that epitomizes the idea of a refuge from oppression and persecution, a place where people can be free, a place where people can finally find a home even if they were turned away before. So I say a very happy 70th birthday to the State of Israel. Now, I could also use a phrase we more typically use in New York City and say Mazel Tov. Israel is an independent nation, but we also in one way regard it as our sixth borough. That's how close we are. And I want to tell you, this is an evening where everyone is welcome and people have all different views, and that's what New York City and America are all about. But I have a strong view I need to share, and I'm going to keep sharing it, which is, if you understand that history that led to the creation of Israel, if you understand the 2,000 years of history before it that required the creation of the State of Israel, then it's very, very clear why the BDS movement is wrong and why it must be confronted. And that's something people should feel. And I am, as all of you know, I'm a proud Democrat and a proud progressive. It doesn't matter what party, what philosophy, we should all oppose BDS because it undermines the very notion of respecting a place of refuge. And I think that's a very progressive value, that people who have been oppressed deserve a place where they're safe. And we should be very concerned in this moment in history. And I won't go into a lot of detail, but I'll simply say, when we see people singled out by faith or religion, any people, be worried. I haven't read the Supreme Court decision today, but any ban that's based on the faith of the people worries me. It should worry us all. We've got a lot we've got to protect here. Let me bring it together. And think of it this way. This nation was founded by people fleeing religious persecution. Right? The Pilgrims, the Puritans, the Quakers, literally a country very much like the state of Israel, founded by people creating a home and someplace safe and someplace respectful for all. Because of that, the Jewish community over time was welcomed into this nation. And I think you might agree with me. America ultimately welcomed and embraced the Jewish community, and by its actions and by its deeds and by its charity and by its goodness, the Jewish community rewarded America and New York City 1,000 times over. So I thank everyone for all you do. And I thank those who are new to our city, and I thank those who have been here for generations. And now I get to introduce someone, a special guest, who is one of the very newest New Yorkers. He doesn't sound like he grew up here, but he already has learned to love this place, and he's working every day to deepen the bond between New York City and Israel. It's my honor to introduce Consul General Danny Dayan.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you so much for this, so they don't notice that I'm so short. Okay, now they will notice that I'm so short. Mayor de Blasio, First Lady, according to the Jewish custom, I would like to start b'shevach ha'achsaniya, praising the hosts. In this case, it's extremely easy, because you, Mayor de Blasio, even when you lose your voice is still one of the strongest voices among leaders in the world in support of Israel, against the bigotry of BDS, against the delegitimization of Israel. In the name of the people of Israel, in the name of the government of Israel, in my personal name, Toda Rabba. Thank you so much. As we speak, Mayor, and unfortunately it's not metaphorically, it's actually happening. As we speak now and gather here, rockets are being fired from Gaza to the town of Sderot in southern Israel. And children have 15 seconds to run to shelter. And I know there's a fact, that we count with the support not only of the Jewish community of New York, but of the New York community in general, with you, Mayor de Blasio, at its front. When Prime Minister Netanyahu appointed me as Consul General to New York, my immediate thought was, my God, I am going to represent the capital of the world, Jerusalem, to a city in which 8 million people, New Yorkers, believe erroneously that they are the capital of the world. So I started by convincing America that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, and now we are going to convince you that we are also the capital of the world. And the other day, Mayor, I got an email from my Italian counterpart inviting me to an espresso breakfast. And he said it will be a breakfast of the 3 I's that count in New York City: Italy, Ireland, and Israel. So we need an Irishman here to share an espresso that counts. And finally, I want to thank my brothers and sisters, the Jewish community of New York, for their support of the State of Israel in hard times, in good times, and to their extremely important contribution to Jewish heritage in all walks of life. But no doubt, the most important contribution of the New York Jewish community to Jewish heritage that completely revolutionized Jewish culture, it's not the same the day after, is undoubtedly the bagel with cream cheese and lox. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Consul General. And I want to emphasize, you're right that Israel has the solidarity of the American people in this time of danger and of the people of this city. And I was in Sderot a few years ago, and I want to emphasize, I imagine a lot of people here have been as well, the idea that there's a center there, a place for children to play that had to be made bomb-proof because kids couldn't be outside, they'd be in danger, and as you said, they get very few seconds warning that there may be a missile coming. And think about that, think about what that would mean for our children, how unacceptable what that would be. So it's painful that that's what those children are experiencing right now, and we will stand by them. Let's thank the Consul General for all he does. Well, lastly, we have the pleasure of having an honoree for this year, and he is a wonderful New Yorker who honors his Jewish heritage and loves his city, and he entertains and inspires through his works. And he's a Renaissance man. He does it all. He's an actor, he's a comedian, and at the same time, he's a cantor at the East Village's Community Synagogue. I'd like to welcome forward Mordecai Modi Rosenfeld. Stand right there. Now, in addition to doing so much to move us and inspire us, he does so much to help others, including, you might have seen him on the Chabad telethon, raising funds to help people in need and giving back to the community. So this is someone worthy of being honored, and we have a proclamation for you. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
The proclamation is now arriving. Hold this. Now, for all of you who know about proclamations, they are purposefully very elegant and wordy. I am not going to read it, but thank you. But I will read the last line because it's one of the best parts of this job to be able to do this. I, Bill de Blasio, as mayor of New York City, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, June 26th, 2018 in the city of New York as Mordecai Modi Rosenfeld Day. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Have a day.
Thank you very much.
I will take this, and you come here.
If I got the step.
Would you like to step?
Oh, yeah.
You got the step.
Oh, yeah, there we go. How are you? Ladies and gentlemen, this is a miraculous day, not because I'm the one being honored, but because the mayor's voice was supposed to only last for 1 minute. But we got 8 minutes out of him. Thank you very much, Mayor. And councilman and mayor talking about bombs and shelters, and that's the best thing before a comedian comes on. I want to thank you both. But that's what it is when you perform for Jewish organizations or Jewish comedy or Jewish, there's always some kind of a depressing thing before you go on. Always. Oh my God, Mayor, you can't even imagine. I follow movies for diseases, for shelter. No, they bring a movie on where they got a guy, I lost my sight, they took my toes off, there's a machine on my pancreas, and some woman comes on, and here's Modi. I performed at the Holocaust Museum. where comedy's meant to be done, I guess. They brought me on after a woman that they honored. They said she'll be bringing you on. They're honoring her, and I thought she was going to just say thank you. She spoke for 48 minutes about what she went through in World War II. She finishes off with, and from the time we were in hiding to see my grandchildren now, I know I have won the war. And here's Modi. But I want to thank the mayor, because the mayor, you know, as he said, I'm an actor, comedian. This is the city. New York is it. Come on, there's no other city in the world, especially if you're an actor and a comedian. A few weeks ago, I shot an episode for HBO's Crashing. I walked out of my apartment, went a few blocks, and I was on the set of the movie. Where else can you do that? And we have comedy clubs in this city that are unbelievable. My home club, the Comedy Cellars here, where I perform all the time. I mean, if you Google and look up top 10 things to do in New York, that is right there, and I'm a part of it, and it's an honor to be a part of this city. And, of course, why am I here today for Jewish Heritage? Because I also perform for the Jewish community and all the organizations and charities we have. And people always ask me, what is the secret to perform for the Jewish community? The first one, of course, is you gotta keep it clean. You gotta make sure it's clean. Before I went on, your liaison, Penny Ringel and Gershie Moskowitz, they made sure you gotta keep it clean. They always say you gotta keep it clean, and then they give you the disclaimer, not for me. You gotta keep it clean, not for me. I want to see your regular act, as if my regular act had a pole and 2 dancers. I don't know what regular act. I performed at a Sheva Brachas in the middle of Borough Park. And Mayor, if you don't know what that is, you're a very lucky man. The woman that hired me was not only wearing a wig, she was wearing a helmet. Her husband, a 9-foot chassid with the white socks and a spudik. That's the Streimel that's on steroids. And they said to me, you gotta keep it clean. Not for us. We're not that religious. It's the in-laws, they're from Lakewood. I do all these events, these are unbelievable. The Jewish community is forever raising money and forever doing unbelievable things in this, and I'm always honored to be a part of it. Whatever the organization, Hatzalah, we have the Jewish Ambulance Corps. I perform for them. Those of you who don't know, there's a Jewish Ambulance Corps, and the reason we have one is because nobody else wants to pick us up. I want to conclude. I don't want to take too much time here. First and foremost, I want to thank the mayor again and his wife, the First Lady. I want to thank everybody that's here tonight for coming. 800 people. It's like a wedding, a bar mitzvah, and another bar mitzvah all at once. And of course, we have to thank God for making this day possible. I want to thank God even more because I get to be a nachas to my parents that are both still alive and here, Batya and Betzalel Rosenfeld. And to be a part of this amazing, amazing community, the Jewish community. Whenever we do these fundraisers, or whatever organization they have, there's always a book, and you open it, there's always a letter from the mayor, giving his chizuk, his strength for the organization. Today, I got my own letter from the mayor. And what's more important is whatever we do as a community, we're not just doing it for the Jews, we're doing it for the entire community, which is one of the biggest lessons of the Lubavitcher Rebbe of sacred and righteous memory. Again, thank you very, very much for this honor, and thank you all. I look forward to performing for all of you in many, many events coming up. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's give a great round of applause to Modi. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank you. My voice held out enough. Thank you for all you do for this city. Enjoy this beautiful evening together. There's a lot to celebrate. Thank you. Good night, everyone.